We got to say a storyline here. A little interesting football game coming up on Sunday. We get to see Carson Wentz for the first time since he left the Philadelphia Eagles. This definitely means something to Howie Roseman. I can tell you that right now. This means something to the front office, and surely Carson has revenge on his mind. I have no doubts about that. Let's talk for a few minutes, everybody.
They're a good defense. They play fast. They play hard. I wouldn't say they're anything exotic. So we kind of know what we're going to get, but that just means we got to execute and out-execute them.
What's up, Cerebral football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. Hey, if you're new to the channel, it's maybe the first, second, third time you caught my content, and you enjoyed today's discussion. Look, we just crossed over 6,300 subscribers. We're on a journey. We're on a path towards 7,500. I would love to add you to the Cerebral football community. Just need you to subscribe to do that. To my OG subscribers here, I don't want to ask you to do, guys. Hit that thumbs up button. Smash the like button. Help me spike this algorithm and get this in front of new people that we can potentially convert into our little audience here on the YouTube. All right, y'all. Today's topic. Division rival game that's been elevated. It's been elevated by having a former Philadelphia Eagle as a signal caller for the Washington football team. By the way, not the first time we've had this narrative in regards to Washington. From Jeremiah Trotter going to Washington for a small period of time to Donovan McNabb and even, Deshaun Jackson. Like, we definitely, we've had this narrative play its way out before. This one feels different, though, guys. This narrative feels a lot different to me because of the emotional stakes between our front office and the quarterback, the signal caller for the Washington Commanders. There are a little different feel to this, right? I mean, you could argue that the McNabb kind of breakup, right as Howie was kind of coming into power, they kind of moved on from Donovan McNabb, and that one could have been fueled, but McNabb was a little further on in his career when the Eagles finally severed those ties, right? We kind of, with a mutual splitting here, let's not confuse it, it was very much a mutual splitting. We severed those ties while a guy was still arguably in his prime. So, I definitely feel like this game, you can't sleep on the emotional aspects to the football game. You never can sleep on any opponent in the NFL. We all know this, man. There's only, 32 NFL teams and a little over 1,600 NFL players. So, at the end of the day, these dudes are good. Every guy that suits up on a Sunday or a Monday or a Thursday, because, we've expanded all that, those dudes can play the game. They're very good football players. So, we know that you can never sleep on any opponent. I'm just saying when you elevate emotions into the scenario, and it's a road game, even though it's not a very far road game, it's still a road game. Without much of a road atmosphere, let's be honest. Things can happen, right? I'm not sleeping on this game because I'll be upfront and honest right from the jump, and I'll say that the Washington Commanders wide receiver corps is one of the better wide receiver corps that this team will face the entire season. I don't think that Terry McLaurin is quite to the Justin Jefferson level of competition. I don't know that the individual player is quite to that tier. I wouldn't go that far. But I will say this about Terry McLaurin, who I've been a big fan of since his rookie season. I think that young man is a top 20 wide receiver in this league. Argumentatively top 10, top 12. He's a very good football player. You can't sleep on him. Like he can take advantage of you if you're not careful. I think Jahan Dotson. I know a lot of you guys, Penn State guys here probably said, I told you, Jahan Dotson was going to be one of those dudes. Hey, man, he's been one of the better drafted players from this previous draft class. Especially in terms of just looking at the wide receivers. Like, Jahan's doing his thing at the NFL level so far. And then they also have Curtis Samuel, former Carolina Panther, kind of a gadgety type player. He can be that gadget guy for you, right? Dude you can put in the backfield. Dude you can line up in the wing. You can play him at all three alignments as a wide receiver. X, Y, and Z. You can play all those alignments for you. Short, boundary, doesn't matter. Field side, you can do all that stuff. So, I mean, they definitely have a receiving core that's worth taking note of. J.D. McKissick, even though he hasn't played a whole lot, McKissick, my bad. J.D. is a good football player, man. He can catch the ball out of the backfield. Antonio Gibson, we know that Antonio Gibson is a pretty solid weapon. He's a guy that, while he will put the ball on the ground at times, and it's been the frustration that team has had with him, he's also an explosive playmaker, too. And then they got Brian Robinson working his way back from an unfortunate off-the-field incident that occurred that, luckily the young man got out of it pretty luckily with the extent of what occurred. With that said, this is a big game. This is a chance for the Eagles to go 3-0 on the season and 1-0 inside division play. This is a huge momentum-shifting game, in my opinion, because I don't think that this game is going to be as easy as the Minnesota game. I just think there's too much emotional stakes here. With that said, I absolutely think that our football team is the better football team. I think our roster from top to bottom is significantly better than Washington's roster from top to bottom. And I'm not taking shots at Carson Wentz, guys. I'm not one of those people that does that kind of stuff. All I'm going to say is that Jalen Hurts has been playing some good football just like Carson has. Jalen Hurts right now, I wanted to know how many dudes were padding their stats in the fourth quarter. I wanted to know, like, okay, if I took away the fourth quarter, where do these quarterbacks rank? Who's basically padding their stats in meaningless snaps? You know what I mean? Like, getting those easy plays. And I wanted to test it between Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz to see if we can make a case here for either guy. Truth be told, both of these dudes are top 10, which means we're probably in for a pretty good football game. Jalen Hurts, second overall in the league right now, quarters 1 through 3. He is 39 of 55 for 70.9 completion rate. 71% basically, guys. Second in yards, 539 yards. He only trails Pat Mahomes in that category. 1 touchdown, no interceptions, 4 sacks, a 9.8 yards per attempt marker. Okay, 23 first downs, and a 108.1 passer rating between quarters 1 through 3. I believe that puts him like 6th highest, rated quarterback in terms of passer rating. He's been balling. Jalen Hurts is the number 2 rated guy in terms of yardage between quarters 1 through 3. And that's just passing yards. It's not counting what he does on the ground as well. Like, Jalen's playing pretty good football right now. I'll be fair, Carson Wentz is ranked 8th, guys. He's 37 of 57 currently for a 64.9% completion rate, basically 65%. 415 yards, 4 touchdowns, 1 interceptions, 5 sacks, a 7.3 yards per average, and then 20 first downs and a 102.6 passer rating. That passer rating is also top 10 status, to be fair. I think he falls somewhere around like 9th, 10th place, something like that, guys, in terms of his actual ranking in terms of passer rating between quarters 1 through 3. It's an evenly matched game to an extent here, guys. The only thing I'm going to say is that I feel like this team with A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert and Miles Sanders, this offensive line, it's clicking, guys. Things are clicking offensively. It's scary how good this team can be. Hey, I'm not saying to take the Washington Commanders lightly. I still think that that's probably the second best football team in the NFC East, the Commanders. It's just I think we're the best. I think we're clearly the best in the NFC East. I think you can make an argument that we're right there in terms of being the best in the NFC. I think we're right there with Tampa Bay. I'm not buying into the Rams so far. It's early. The Rams are probably going to turn it around. There's a lot of talent on that football team, but I don't think they're significantly above anybody else right now. I think San Francisco, with Jimmy Garoppolo back at the helm, their offense is a little weird at times, but, they got great play calling there and great play design from their head coach. So I think the Eagles are that kind of level of talent right now. I just think the talent level is that high. And I'm going to be honest. We know Carson Wentz better than any other team, any other fan base. We got a lot of experience with this guy. Carson can make some spectacular throws. We know that. This is not an issue of talent with Carson Wentz. It's a mental issue. We all know this. We've been around Carson for far too long. We remember the 2020 season when Carson started against the Washington football team. At the time, I believe is what they were called. And you go back to that season, you take a look at the results of that game. We were up like 21-7 or something like that. We had like 14 to 20-some point lead on them. And then what happened? Carson got reckless with his decision-making and ball placement. One of them, not so much his fault on the Jalen Reagor one, but the next following possession after halftime where he clearly made a risky pass. He really wasn't reading the leverage of the cornerback. And he got picked on that game. And then we ended up losing that home opener to the Washington football team that year. We know Carson better than pretty much anybody. We know there's talent there with Carson Wentz. I'm not personally taking this challenge lightly. I don't think the Eagles are taking this challenge lightly. I think that they want to win this game for Howie. I do. What I'm saying is this. Carson will press matters. Carson will try to put everything on his shoulders, and he'll try to make the spectacular play. I think Carson's going to hold the ball a lot longer than what we saw the first 2 weeks with Jared Goff and then Kirk Cousins. I think Carson's going to give your pass rush a chance to get home. I think we've been very close to seeing the levee break. The old Led Zeppelin song, guys, if it keeps on raining, the levee's going to break. That's how I felt with the defensive line. Go back and watch all the turnovers from Monday night. What caused the turnovers? Pressure in your face. Brandon Graham driving the right tackle back into Kirk Cousins' face, which caused an incompletion, right? Javon Hargrave basically in the face of Kirk Cousins, causing the pick to Darius Slay. Like, go back. The Avonte Maddox one was spearheaded by pressure. Pressure. We've been right there to where the levee was about to break. I think it's going to happen. I think the levee finally breaks in this game, and there's going to be a lot of sacks on Carson Wentz. I definitely think he's going to give you the opportunity, and the defensive line needs to respond to the opportunity. All right, guys, leave your thoughts down below. Let me know, what do you think? What are your keys to the game? What do you think is going to happen in this game? Hey, it's going to be an emotionally contested football game. That part I know. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all so much, guys, and I'll see y'all in the next video.